Ladies and escorts, Andy here, author of the best Tinder guide on the internet, and guy who is recording this video for the second time because the first fucking time didn't work. This is the Kill Your Own Loser show. Let's go. Mm-hmm. Joined by this.
Hi.
And you're supposed to say hi that. So we're going to talk about escorts here. I fucking hate doing an intro the second time after I've already done 10 minutes of a video. I have talked about escorts quite a bit in the past. I have done interviews on my channel with escorts. I will show you one on the screen right now. This lady here, Georgie Wolf, she's an escort. I did a great interview with her. I have also interviewed and recommended to some of my clients who are virgins. I've said, if you're really that bummed out by this label of being a virgin, if it's really upsetting you and you feel like it's holding you back, you can just go and see an escort. I did a interview here with this guy here. His name is Ravi, so you can just search my channel for 29-year-old virgin loses it by seeing an escort. And he talked about his experience with an escort and how much that was a positive, experience for him. So I don't suggest, you don't have to see an escort if you don't want to, but there are enough of my clients and guys on my forums and guys on other forums that have been really bothered by the fact that they're a virgin. And I've just said, mate, you know that you're allowed to go and see an escort. You could solve this virginity label, tonight. You could literally go from, I'm a virgin, I don't know how to lose it, to, holy shit, I've had sex, tonight. Within, 4 hours from 2 hours from now, so...
Yeah, and I think the thing about, when you recommend it to those clients, it's often those clients that are ones that are beating themselves with, the stick of, the label of them being a virgin. They carry this thing around of I'm a virgin and I don't have experience and I'm scared women will judge me. Mm-hmm. And often at times it doesn't actually necessarily change a lot tangibly. Yes, you just had sex, but it's more all of the mental shit that comes with labeling yourself a virgin
and the identity. Guys will wrap up, or a lot of guys will wrap up their entire identity around I'm a virgin. They'll literally call themselves a virgin. I'm a virgin. I'm a virgin. Oh my God, I'm a virgin. And so if you just bust through that and destroy that label, all of a sudden there's no more excuses to going outside and talking to women. There's no excuses to going on Tinder and matching with some chicks and saying, hey, do you want to grab a drink together? Because you're not a virgin now. You've pushed through that.
It's funny that even if you say I've only had sex one time, it doesn't have that same...
Yeah, it's well, at least I've done it once, I can do it again.
Yeah, it's not as compelling as saying I'm a virgin. There seems to be a whole lot of connotations that are associated with being a virgin.
There really is. And most of those are self-inflicted. And I understand that's very easy to say as someone who's not a virgin anymore, obviously. But for most of you who are virgins and you see it as a bad thing, you're doing that to yourself. That's a story that you've told. So seeing an escort can be a way to fix that. You don't have to see an escort, obviously. A lot of people are going to have very strong emotions around this, and they're going to say, oh my God, that's cheating. No, I want to prove to myself that I can do it. Sure, you do you. I'm not saying you have to see an escort. This is more a podcast where we're going to say this is an option for you if you want to. So all of this is leading up to, we randomly found this subreddit today, and I will show it on the screen, called Escort Clients Only. And this subreddit is basically a subreddit of people that have gone and seen an escort and had sex, and they give reviews or they ask questions, any of that sort of stuff. And so we found this completely randomly. Someone on the Good Looking Loser forums, I was in an old thread, someone had mentioned this, and I clicked onto it and I was curious. And then we were both curious to see if any guys had talked about on this subreddit losing their virginity to an escort. So I searched for the word virgin. And my God, there's hundreds of posts from people saying, I lost my virginity. Here's what it was like. Do I recommend it? Yes or no? Was it good? Was it bad? And so I thought, fuck it. You know what? This would actually be interesting. If we go through and read maybe 20 of these stories, and I've just opened a bunch of them. We haven't read any of them yet. We started reading one when we recorded this 10 minutes ago and the video didn't fucking work. So we haven't read most of these. So we're going to react live to these. And I thought this would be an interesting way to give a lot of you a view of what it would be like to see an escort maybe, and to kind of take away some of that stigma if you are someone that wants to see an escort. Again, if you're not, you can listen to this video and just be curious and see what it would be like, and you can be safe in the knowledge that you don't have to see an escort. But for those of you that sort of get really bummed out by the virginity label, this is an option. It doesn't have to be the option you take. but this is an option. Another option is obviously coaching. I've worked with a shit ton of virgin clients at this point. Plenty of, like, it surprises me still how many guys in their 30s, like, I've helped lose their virginity. Not that I'm surprised that they get to that age, but just like, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, working with guys who are in their 30s, they're a virgin, they come see you 4 weeks later, they've lost it, and they're like, oh my God, like, I went 30 years and
yeah,
like,
I do find that interesting though, that like you've like pretty much all of the time they'll lose it, and it doesn't take that long at all. And
there's like one exception, and he has only just finished his coaching, and I'm going to do an interview with him as soon as he loses his virginity. I'm pretty sure he's going to lose it in the next 4 weeks. He's the only exception as well. Like, everybody else is like, I've lost it within the first 4 weeks of coaching with you. So yeah, it's not as difficult as it might seem, even if you're in your 30s. You know, I'll leave a link in the description below to the coaching. Let's get to the good shit. So this is the page, Escort Clients Only. Decent number of members. There's 30,000 members on this, 30,000 subscribers. And what we're going to do is just go through and read out a bunch of different things, and we'll kind of react to them and give our thoughts and give you guys some food for thought. If nothing else, this will probably be interesting because a bunch of you have probably, most of you are probably not virgins. Like, statistically speaking, most of you watching are not virgins, but reading through some of this stuff, it's pretty fucking interesting. Like, it's really interesting. A guy that would like lose it to an escort, and like what their experience is like, and most of them seem to have good experiences, as you'd expect.
Yeah, I think most people are curious about other people's experiences.
Yeah, for sure.
Exploring the human experience.
Yeah, and you and I have dated plenty of girls that have been virgins, and so I guess we're sort of like the flip side of this, where obviously we're not charging women money to sleep with us, but when you go to an escort and you're a virgin, you're basically getting someone who's more experienced, who's an expert to help you, and so it's interesting. So this guy, 32 male, I lost my virginity to an escort today. Met with a provider with a lot of good reviews. She's tall, blonde, fake boobs, but not over the top.
I am curious as to where people are going to get reviews. I wouldn't know.
I think there's somewhere on here that does reviews. So let's put a pin in that. Ask me that after we finish reading and responding to this one.
Sure.
Because they do have a pinned post on this subreddit that has a bunch of different review websites and stuff. And I would recommend, if you guys do see an escort, obviously research the legality in your own country. Not that I really give a fuck about legality of stuff, but like...
It's my hair.
You know, I feel like I should say that, you know, as a disclaimer. Look up the legality in your country. Look up reviews. Do your own research. All that kind of shit. So, when I got there, I explained that I was a virgin and that I would need to use my own condoms because my dick is small, which she was okay with. Good job, like, explaining that you're a virgin. I feel like that the honesty is a very important thing. That way the woman can take her time and make sure you have a good time. She can sort of walk you through stuff. She won't have any expectations of like, oh, he should know. The worst thing you could do is show up and like pretend you know what you're doing. Yeah, and then it's just kind of like awkward. But if you tell her like, hey, listen, I'm a virgin, she'll be like, oh, no worries. Like, I'll teach you everything. Cool. Like, leave it to me.
Ultimately, you would be giving yourself the best experience by being honest, because an escort, like, she's probably going to, well, she almost certainly is going to treat a virgin client like far
more patiently.
Yeah, and just it'll be a lot different, and you go slower and teach a few things. It's only in your best interest to be honest, so that you can actually give yourself the best experience possible. For sure.
And as for like, you know, I told her my dick is small, that's why I got to use condoms. Like, she was okay with. Of course, she's going to be okay with it, with you having a small dick, because like, she's a professional, right? You're paying her for a service. But you know, I've had this conversation with so many women and so many coaching clients and so many people. Like, girls for the most part don't care about your dick size as much as you think they do. It tends to be guys that are obsessed with dick size. Guys are like cock obsessed, and women for the most part, it's like, as long as you put some effort into making her feel good or to being present with her and having a good shared experience with her, most women don't care if your dick is like 3 inches or like fucking 9 inches. Obviously, a 9-inch dick will feel physically better. Yes, of course. A 3-inch dick isn't going to feel as good physically on that one little aspect. But guess what else? You have these things. Do you know what these are? These are fucking hands. How many times have I not used my dick with a girl that we've slept with?
Yeah, plenty. As a general rule, if we're meeting a girl for the first time and we decide to bring her back after we've gone like on a date at a bar or something, as a general rule, we don't follow it 100% of the time, but you won't have sex with her. Like, I don't. No penis in vagina.
Yeah, I like to wait until the second time for a million different reasons. I like to make sure we're really into her. I like to get a feel for her before I decide to fuck her. Like, that's my own, basically, like, screening. I want to make sure I really like her first. But, yeah, so I won't use my dick a lot of the time when we have sex. And guess what? Like, a huge portion of them say, like, oh my God, that was fucking amazing. That was, like, the best sex of my life. And it's like, I didn't even use my dick. Let alone having a small dick. I didn't even have a fucking dick. Like, I didn't even use a dick. But that's what these are for. That's what your hands are for. That's what your mouth is for. That's what your words are for. That's what toys are for. That's what blindfolding, role-playing, talking dirty, all that kind of stuff. And if you're not experienced with that, that's fine. But my point here is that, like, having a small dick does not mean, like, oh my God, like, she's going to think my dick is small. It's like, then fuck her brains out with your hands. Like, dominate the shit out of her. Make her call you daddy. Like, shove her against the wall. I'm limited by how much I can say on YouTube, but, like, fuck her brains out without using your dick. Like, you don't need your dick. You really don't. So he says, I paid her £170 by the hour, or for the hour, plus £20 for CIM, which stands for come in mouth. And on our previous recording of this video, we made like 1 billion jokes there, but I can't be bothered making the same jokes again.
There'll be more opportunities.
Yeah, we'll make more jokes.
You can help yourself.
Since it was my first time, I thought I was going to nut in her mouth instantly. Yeah, that's a big thing that guys have a fear of, like, and not just necessarily with an escort, but their first time of having sex is like, oh my God, what if I come too quickly? It's like,
it's going to be so good that, like, they can't hold off for like more than like 5 seconds, I think is the stereotype, right?
It's funny how that's a big fear though, because it's like, okay, well, if you nut in 5 minutes, you don't just sit there and apologize and start crying and be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's like,
well, that's the cliche in movies though. He's like,
I know, he's like oh my
in
God,
there for like 5 seconds and then like,
I'm so embarrassed, oh my God.
He rolls
so
over
sorry.
and she just like,
and she's like, is everything okay? And he's all like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I came. And she's like, you gotta do the thing. So we're gonna do the meme. So you gotta like fold your arms like this and look
holding
really,
a microphone.
Just look really grumpy, like the fucking meme. You go like that, and I'm just like, that's the fucking meme. We should make that the screenshot. Yeah. So it's like that's not reality though, because like, ready, I'm gonna blow your guys' mind here. If you come too quickly, this is just gonna like fucking whack some people out. They're gonna be like, oh my God, how is that real? Is that true? If you come really quickly, you're allowed to keep going and do other stuff. And they're going to be like, what? But I thought she has to immediately leave and run home and start crying and get really unhappy. And it's like, that you can like pull the vibrator out and make her feel good. You could just cuddle with her. You could like go down on her. You could finger her. You could cuddle with her for half an hour until your dick like is ready to go again. I know you're maybe not going to do that with an escort, but with an escort, you have an hour. You can sit there and talk. You can say, hey, I want to practice making you feel good now. Can you teach me? Like,
yeah, especially if you're a virgin. It's just like explore her body.
Yeah.
Ask her questions, like figure some stuff out that doesn't involve you having sex.
Yeah, this idea that like once the guy comes, it's all over. It's like, I don't know if it comes from porn or if it's just like a general, it might be, but like I'd need to know if this idea was still there like maybe 50 years ago or 70 years ago when there wasn't as much porn.
Maybe also just traditional, like the more like, I don't know, religious version of sex of like the only job of sex is to make a baby. So once we've done the thing that should make a baby, then it's done.
Yeah, but the point is here, if you come too quickly, you just say like, oh my God, you're so fucking hot, I literally couldn't hold off. And she's like, wow, that's kind of sexy. And then you do other shit. You say, yo, roll over, I'm going to make you feel good. Go down on her. Like, do other shit. The show isn't over because you come.
It is funny though, because like when we've talked about a lot of clients, most guys who are nervous have the opposite problem. Like they can't come because they're really nervous. And that seems to be more common, at least from what you've told me.
Yeah, they're so nervous that they actually are almost afraid to come. They almost give themselves a complex of like, oh, okay, I can't come too quickly. I don't want to come too quickly or she'll think that I'm a fucking quick comer. She'll think I'm a pre-jack. And so you end up like not being able to come because you're so in your own head. I've worked with so many clients that like literally couldn't come. One in particular, I don't think I'll say his name. I did do a podcast with him, an interview with him, so that's on my channel. I don't think I said his... I think he was anonymous, though. I can't remember. The video was called This Guy Had Sex Within 5 Minutes of Meeting a Girl. So go and read that. Or within 15 minutes of meeting a girl. Go and watch that video. But basically, yeah, he struggled to come at all. And that was like the biggest thing that we worked on in the coaching. Like, I got him laid. I got him to do a couple of other things, worked on his honesty and stuff. But the biggest thing that he took away from the coaching was like, holy shit, you helped me come with women. Like, because before that, he just couldn't. Because he was so in his own head about like, oh my God, I don't want to come too quickly. So, yeah, I'll keep reading. We started with some kissing. Then she went on to give me a BBBJ.
I don't know what that... I was going to ask you.
I don't know what the fuck a BBBJ is.
Like a blowjob.
Big black blowjob? Like, because BB, big beautiful blowjob, like BBW, big beautiful woman, or BBC, like big black cock. Is it like big black blowjob, or is it big beautiful blowjob, or is it some other shit?
I don't know. We can Google this later.
BBBJ. So, okay, anyone in the comments, can you help us out? Like, legit, if you know what BBBJ is, can you? I could Google it.
Yeah, it's going to annoy me. I'm going to Google it.
So then on with the condom, we had sex in multiple positions. I don't know what a BBBJ is. Unfortunately, I was so nervous I had trouble staying hard. Yeah. So it's funny he says unfortunate, because it's like, is it unfortunate or is that just a story you're telling? Like, that's so unbelievably common, and guys put this pressure on themselves or ourselves. I used to do it too, where it's like, I got to be fully hard the entire time. I have to come not too quickly, but also not too long, or she might get impatient and bored and think that she's not pretty. I have to be able to make her feel really good and give her an orgasm, and that has, like, even if she's too nervous to orgasm, I somehow have to be able to overcome that and just make her orgasm. I have to fuck her nice and hard, but not too hard, because then that'll make me come too quickly. I have to keep it interesting and do lots of different positions, because otherwise she'll think I'm boring. I probably want to go down on her for a little bit, because girls like that, I got to do a good job. Gee, I hope I can find the clit. Gee, I really hope that if she does suck me, I don't come too quickly, because like that wouldn't be that good. And yeah, after all of that, I've also got to make sure I'm a gentleman the entire time and do a pretty, I'm nice to her and all of that. I probably want to cuddle afterwards and make her feel, like it wasn't just me fucking her and then ditching her. And then after all that, I still want to be a gentleman and make sure, like, I walk her back to her car. I probably want to text her afterwards and say I had a fun time. Like, no wonder you can't fucking stay hard, motherfucker. If instead you just went into it and said, like, if I can't stay hard, that's fine. If my dick goes soft, yeah, I'm nervous. Like, I'm a virgin. Who gives a shit? Like, it's probably going to happen. If you take that pressure off, ironically, you can be more present, and you probably will stay hard. And even if you don't give a shit. Because guess what? You got these. You don't need a hard dick, remember? Basically, I'm on a mission to get guys to stop being obsessed with hard cocks. A lot of men out there are just really, like, obsessed with hard dick. Like, just a nice hard dick. They're just like, they will basically pray to God. They were like, God, can I please have a nice hard cock tonight? Like, I need a big, hard, juicy, just like strong steel cock today is what I need. And I'm trying to like break you guys out of that paradigm. So anything you'd like to add there?
No, you said it. Juicy steel cock.
Yep. So yeah, basically I want you guys to want a soft cock rather than a juicy cock, or be okay with a bit of soft cock. Don't turn down a soft cock, all right? You guys are homophobic against soft cocks. She was nice enough to give me back the 20 pounds. I'm sorry, that really made me laugh. I don't know why, that's just funny. She gave me a refund because I didn't like claim the $20 coming in the mouth thing. I mean, if nothing else, she's honest. I respect that.
Well, I guess it depends. Like, did you ask for the £20, or did she preemptively say, like, it's... Because I feel like it's worse if she preemptively said, like...
If he asks, that's rude. Do you don't think that's rude? It's like, hey, since I didn't come in your mouth, can I have my £20 back? And she's like, you paid for the possibility of doing it, not for doing it. Like,
I think it's weird of her to preemptively say you can have it back. I think I would prefer that... If
anyway,
I was
it doesn't matter. So he didn't bust the nut in her mouth, or at all for that matter. In conclusion, I'm glad I finally got my first time out of the way. Hopefully next time I won't be as nervous, and I'm definitely staying away from porn for a while. Yeah, so it sounds like a fairly positive experience. I'm surprised he hasn't talked any more in here about the fact that he was like 32. Like, he hasn't talked at all what it was like to lose your virginity at 32, and like if he'd sort of given up on sex. Like, I would like to know more details about this guy. I'd love to interview this guy. Obviously, I'm probably not going to, but like...
Okay, well, like, what I actually like about that, though, is that he even says, like, the fact that he couldn't get hard, he still had a nice time. Like he said, I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I lost it. Like, it wasn't, there's no, like, woe and misery because of, like, the fact that he didn't get hard. Which, I think is nice.
Yeah, it sounds like he had a pretty good time. And it sounds like he wasn't too judgmental of himself for not being hard. Yeah, some of the questions here are interesting. So, like, someone says, like, why'd you wait so long? Like, this is, like, fucking no money. Why didn't you do it in your 20s? If I'm being honest, it's because I brought into the stigma surrounding this hobby when I was younger. I guess when he says hobby, he means, like, seeing an escort. I don't know that I'd call it a hobby if you did it one time.
Okay, when we were skimming through this subreddit, everyone seems to call it a hobby, which I find interesting.
Oh, man, we could have a big, long discussion of that. I guess you guys can always do what you want at the end of the day, but I would recommend, if you're going to lose your virginity to an escort, maybe set in your mind, like, you know, I want to do this once, or I want to do this a couple times, like, because I could see it becoming almost like an addiction, like porn or something, or an excuse to not go outside and talk to women, or an excuse to not go on Tinder because you're like, oh, I can get laid.
Yeah, because sorry to interrupt, as we were going through this, I actually like glanced at some of the titles of posts, and some of them were like a hard hobby to quit.
Yeah, like, so some people, they might be getting a bit addicted, and I understand that. And some guys some guys are going to be honest with themselves and probably say, like, yeah, I'm happy to pay for escorts for the rest of my life. I don't think that'll be most men, though. And so it's just about having a conversation with yourself and being honest and saying, you know, am I okay with doing this a couple times and then I go and meet a real woman, you know, a woman outside of escorts? Or do I want to do this? Like I have a client, I had a client, I won't necessarily say his name because we didn't talk about this on the podcast I did with him, but he still sees escorts to this day. And he's a guy that gets laid, like a lot, like a couple times a week. And he just likes escorts. He just kind of likes it. He's like, if he's got some spare cash, which he has plenty of, he likes the ability to just have sex with a girl and then it's chill and they can just talk and all of that. And so escorts can be a part of your life. I guess we're just giving a caveat of like, be warned that it could be slightly addicting. Or you could use it as a procrastination.
I can see it being a bit of a crutch. Yeah,
procrastination. So this guy bought into the stigma. His mentality was he might be sad, lonely, and pathetic, but at least I don't pay for sex. I've matured since then. All I had to do was build the courage to do it. Yeah, there's so many guys that do that. Hey, I might be sad, lonely, and pathetic, but at least I don't pay for sex. Remember on my channel when we interviewed a couple of girls who we were sleeping with who had OnlyFans? And there were a couple of dudes on my forums who were like, man, you'd have to be a fucking loser to pay for OnlyFans. Like, what kind of simp faggot would pay for sex? And I was like, bro, like, why such a strong reaction? Like, why such a very emotional reaction? Like, I understand if you don't want to pay for sex, but why, like, the visceral, like, you know, you're pathetic if you pay for sex. Like, why do you care what someone else does? Like, if you don't want to pay for sex, don't. But why that emotional reaction? So anytime you have a very strong emotional reaction, it's worth looking inside yourself and saying, why am I having such a strong emotional reaction? Yeah. Because, like, Andy, don't want to pay for sex. But, like, I'm not going to sit there and have a very strong reaction. Yeah. Like, a very strong. And I've paid for sex in the past when I was younger. I've talked about this. I went to escorts when I was in my early 20s. But I don't have a strong emotional reaction. So if you do analyze it, why am I having this reaction? Yeah.
And it obviously comes from a negative place. Like, this guy even said his mentality was, I might be sad, lonely, and pathetic. So he's saying, I feel like I'm sad, I'm lonely, and pathetic.
But it would be even worse if I paid for sex. Like, and so if you pay for sex, you're literally worse than being sad, lonely, and pathetic.
Like, and like he's admitting, I'm sad, lonely, and pathetic. And obviously that sort of mentality where you're like you said, it's kind of this like hatred or this like such a strong emotional reaction. It's not coming from like a happy, peaceful place. It's like, I'm not happy with myself. Things aren't good. Therefore, I'm going to judge or like hold very like aggressive, strong opinions.
People do some of the most, I've said this a million times, people who judge others are not happy with themselves. That's an almost universal truth. Yeah. When you're very happy with your life, it's a lot more difficult to judge people. You'll still judge people sometimes. Like, you try not to. It happens sometimes. But when you have a very like visceral, emotional, like, this person is a fucking piece of shit, like, you don't tend to have those sort of reactions when you're happy with your life. It's much harder to. So yeah, if you're having a very strong emotional reaction about people who pay for sex, or about people who pay for OnlyFans, or about people who, I don't know, any of that shit, it's worth basically looking internally and saying, like, am I happy with my life? And the answer is usually no. Because if you were happy with your life, you'd be like, I don't give a fuck what they do. Like, more power to them. I hope they're happy. Even if they're miserable, I don't give a fuck. My life's cool. I'm busy with my cool life. So, yeah. Next one. I, 21 male, lost my virginity today to an escort. I just want to share my experience and thoughts here anonymously because I feel the need to tell someone, and I will definitely never tell anyone I know. And sorry in advance, this is a long post. No, it's not that long. If it was, we'd probably skip it. So I had been waiting to have a girlfriend and get laid since I was like 15, like everyone, but I'm a very shy and introverted person, even socially awkward and not very handsome, so no girl has ever been interested in me. I tried Tinder too, but it's not for me. So yeah, this is where I could see some guys like saying, okay, I'm not going to try and improve myself. I'm not very handsome. I'm socially awkward. I'm shy and introverted. No girl has ever been interested in me. I even tried Tinder, but it wasn't for me. This is the person where I would probably say, if they came to me for coaching, I'd probably say like, sure, see an escort if you want to, but like, bro, that's not going to be the solution. You're not going to be okay with that solution. Like the solution long-term or medium-term has to be like, improve your shyness, improve your introversion, go and meet people, go and make friends, learn how to be social, improve your looks, improve your style. Like, let's get you. You don't have to be like handsome, but let's add some muscle. Let's lean you out a little bit. Let's get you to dress better. Let's get you talking to some girls, even just as friends at first, so that you can say, oh, some girls have been interested in me. Let's fix your Tinder up, or if that's, you know, not your cup of tea at this point in time, let's at least get you out there socializing with some women and having women in your life in some capacity so you can work up the courage. So, yeah, this would be the person that I could definitely see going down the route of escorts as an excuse.
Yeah, and basically just labeling himself forever as like women aren't interested in me, so I'm just gonna have to pay for sex forever.
Yeah, for sure. So he says, so I got tired of being a virgin and have been considering getting an escort for like a year, and after a long time thinking about it, I decided to do it, mainly because I'll turn 22 too soon and I don't want to turn 22 being a virgin.
That's an interesting age to pick, as like usually people pick round numbers like
but
25
people pick all sorts
or 30
of weird numbers to say it's too late for them, and
you
know. So I set up the date yesterday. I was very nervous during the entire day. Yeah, of course. Even at one point, I was struggling to breathe properly because of the anxiety it gave me. This was basically me on the day when we had our first thriesome, when I had my first threesome.
Yeah, you told me you were obsessed, like obviously like probably a year or so after the fact, but you said you were like pacing in your apartment and like cleaning everything obsessively.
Yeah, I was really nervous. I was like having panic attacks before the first threesome. But I was not going to back out because I knew I had to do it and get the virginity thing over with already. Yeah, so that's like pretty common. That's when I would recommend a guy see an escort if he's like, I just want the fucking virginity thing over. It's pissing me off. I feel like I can't move forward. It's like this roadblock. I'm sick of it. It's like, then just, sure, go see an escort and it will be done. It won't solve all your problems. Let's make that clear. But you won't be a virgin. So you'll have one less excuse. And for $200... it's like, sure, why not? And there's more high-class, expensive ones than that. Obviously, you pay more, you're going to usually get a better experience, but
of course,
it's so easily solved. What I would do, actually, if I was going to see an escort, is I would pay for a very expensive one. So I'd pay for one that probably costs like $1,000 an hour. And I would pay for like 3 hours or 4 hours. And I would want to have sex, but I would also want to be able to talk, and I would want to maybe go out for dinner afterwards and just talk, and I'd just want her to listen to me and be nice to me. Like, that's what most guys are seeking from sex and women in general, is like a woman to be nice to you. So
yeah, it's intimacy more than just like the act of actually having sex.
Yeah. So I think if I was a virgin, especially at like 25 or 30 or something, I'd dump like fucking $5,000 into it and just have the best night of my goddamn life. Not saying you guys have to do that, obviously, but like $200 is still going to get you laid. So the escort I booked has a 10 out of 10 body for me. Yeah, and that's something we didn't even talk about. Escorts are obviously going to be more attractive than a woman that you're probably going to sleep with if you're a virgin. Let's just phrase it like that.
Yeah.
That can be a good and a bad thing. Because it can be good because it can show you like, oh shit, like I can sleep with, like hot women are not some magical being. They're not on a pedestal.
People that are
they're
attractive.
just hot people.
Yeah.
I could also see it being a negative thing because then you almost get addicted to that, like pornography or something, and you're used to having the best, like highest quality, and then you just don't want to go out there into the real world and talk to girls who are maybe cute rather than like 10 out of 10 stunning porn star. So she is someone who I never would have been able to touch without paying. Yeah, see, so that's the negative. I could see that becoming like, and that's such a limiting belief. I would never have been able to touch without paying. That's not true. If you improved yourself, you got your shit together, you got your confidence, threw on a lot of muscle, you know, you have to do the self-improvement stuff, talk to a bunch of women, all of that, try. You have to actually try. Then, yeah, you might be able to get a woman like this. But if you tell yourself you'll never be able to touch her without paying, yeah, that's already starting down that path that I said be careful of.
Yeah.
So I thought the experience would be memorable. Also, she had a lot of excellent reviews. She's the most expensive escort in my city, having an hourly rate of 150 euros. That's really fucking cheap. This guy obviously lives in Europe. Because escorts and prostitution are legal in like a lot of European countries, the prices are a lot more competitive, and it's obviously a lot safer, and it's a lot better reviewed. America and Australia and other countries like that really have a dog shit like escort scene. And nothing against the escorts. I'm saying like the fact that it's criminalized and that you can go to jail and all that shit. Like, yeah. So I got there and she was stunning. She was beautiful and had a perfect body and was very nice and charming too. So long story short, she kissed me with a lot of tongue, she blew me without a condom, and we had sex in different positions. I have to say it all felt very different than what I was expecting. Yeah, that's pretty common. After losing virginity, it's not like what you expect. Because you don't know what to expect.
Yeah, of course, it's something you've never tried before. Yeah. And I think because it like sex gets glorified so much, you think it's going to be this like profound life-changing experience where you come out of it and you're like, you're a man now, you're a different person. And it's like, no, I'm the exact same person, and now I've had sex. Like, cool, nothing is different really, other than the fact that now I've...
For some people it is different, okay. But yeah, for most people it's not, sure. It's like, I just had sex. Yep. And that's not to minimize sex. Sex is pretty fucking amazing. Let's be honest. Yeah. It all seems so good, but now comes the bad part. I was not able to finish. Yeah. So why is that bad? So again, I'd say, why is that bad? If you went to a restaurant, let's say you go to a restaurant, you order a big steak and some fries and a salad, and you get a little bit of dessert as well. You got your lovely big meal there. Maybe you get a milkshake or something. You fat fuck, eating all those calories. And so you got your big meal, you fat fuck. And you
done? You're gonna keep doing that with this whole analogy.
And you get through 50% of that meal, and you look down and there's all the steak. There's like half the steak and half the fries and some salad and a little bit of dessert left there. You don't go like, man, it's so bad that I wasn't able to finish. It's just like, did I have fun? Yes or no? If I enjoyed it, then great. If I didn't, well then that's you. The point is you enjoyed the meal. It doesn't matter if you finished. But with sex, guys have this idea of like, if I can't come or if I can't make her come, then it's shit. And it's like, stop and remove the idea of an orgasm or coming. If that wasn't even a concept in your mind, like if you didn't even know you could orgasm, you didn't know that was a thing, would it have been a fun experience? And then if you answer yes, it would have been a fun experience, then you are defining fun based on what you didn't do rather than what you actually did, which is another way of saying you are living in a fantasy made-up world in your head. You're living in the world of theory of what might have theoretically happened rather than what actually happened. It's like, was it fun, yes or no? If the answer is yes, then don't worry about what didn't happen or what could have happened or what might have happened next time. It's like, was that fun? Are you grateful for what happened, yes or no? If you want to finish next time, sure, great. You didn't come this time, who gives a fuck? You still had fun. So yeah, guys tell stories of like, I gotta come, or I can't come too quickly, and I gotta make her come, and it's just too much pressure, guys. You're putting so much pressure on yourself. Girls don't give a fuck. They just don't give a fuck. Yes, they will have more fun if you blow their mind and give them an orgasm and all that sort of shit, but like, they're not sitting there like waiting for you to fuck up and go like, oh my god, you didn't come. You're a little beta male bitch. You can piss off.
Yeah, most women don't like care about your orgasm because it doesn't like do a ton for them. I feel like it's definitely a more niche thing for women to like really be into like cum or something like that, for example.
Yeah, they care if you had fun. And so if you don't come, make sure you tell her like, hey, I didn't come, but I was a bit nervous, but I had a lot of fun. Yeah. Like, that's all she cares about. Did you have fun? Did she have fun? Yes. I didn't even come close. She was amazing and my dick was hard and all, but somehow I could not get horny mentally. Yeah, because you're a virgin and you're terrified and this is the first time you've had sex. You see what I mean about pressure? So when we had sex and she blew me, I felt a little pleasure, but I mostly felt indifferent. Yeah, that's pretty common. I've had a lot of guys on their first time almost overanalyze it and be like, oh my God, but I didn't feel anything. Like, it just felt like okay. And like, it was supposed to be fireworks and magic. And like, how come my dick didn't feel like explosions? And it's like, because you're in your own head. Are you fucking serious? Because you're spending the entire time going like, why doesn't it feel good? 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 It's like, it's hard to feel good when you're putting that pressure on yourself. Instead, if you just be present and almost curious, like if you have a mindset of like, oh, that feels interesting. What she's doing with her tongue, isn't that interesting? Like, instead of expecting it to be a mind-blowing experience and everything feels good and every little thing is amazing and my dick is perfectly hard and I came at exactly the right time, not too quick, but not too slow. It's like the Mama Bear fucking... the Goldilocks and Mama Bear. It's like not too hot and not too cold. It's just right. That's some of you guys with coming. You're like, I can't come too quickly, but I can't take too long. It's got to be just right. It's like, fuck me. Just enjoy what's actually happening.
Yeah, because that is like, I mean, that's even like enjoying life. It's about being present and being in the moment.
Being in reality, looking at what is actually happening rather than what you think should happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. She treated me really well, but towards the end, I could see that she was disappointed I couldn't finish. Oh, so you can mind read now, fucker.
Yeah, I bet she was.
And that killed more my mood. I bet she's literally just sitting there, like, in her own brain going, like, okay, what am I going to have for dinner? He's like, oh my God, she's so disappointed in me. Oh my God, like, she thinks I'm a beta.
Yeah, that's like absolutely projection. Like, because
you are literally
he's obviously
fucking mind reading. She is an escort. Do you understand how many fucking men will not be able to come with her? Do you understand how boring and mundane you are? And I'm going to go hard on this guy because it's like, I'm sorry you're not that fucking special. You are so fucking boring and your story is so fucking common. You are going to an escort and you couldn't come. She's like, oh, well, this is like the 7th guy this week that can't come. And you're like, oh man, like she's disappointed in me.
Why would she care?
Why does she give a fuck? You're disappointed in you. Yeah. You're disappointed you couldn't come. She doesn't give a fuck. You're the one that's projecting disappointment on her. She's probably disappointed that you're disappointed because she wanted to give you a nice time. You're sitting there, Captain Frowny Face, going like, I didn't have a good time because I didn't come. And then she's like, oh, that sucks. I wanted him to have fun. And you're like, yep. And now she's disappointed in me because I couldn't come. No, she's not even disappointed. But if she was, she'd be disappointed because you're fucking disappointed. So self-fulfilling prophecy. I went really hard on this guy. Yeah, sure. But this is, I'm sorry, dude. You're so fucking boring. This guy's so fucking boring and his story is so dumb and shit and like common. And he's like, I'm the only guy that's ever not been able to come for his first time. And therefore she must be disappointed. It's like, I'm sorry, you're fucking boring. I mean that in a good way. That's meant to be liberating. Like, you're so fucking boring and mundane because your problem is so goddamn common and average and normal. And you're going like, man, like, it's the end of the world.
Yeah, and I get that when you build up your virginity to be this massive thing and like the first time to be really such a big deal. Yeah, and like was it this guy that said he'd been researching it for a long time and he like couldn't deal with being a virgin anymore. Like, I get that when that's your first time, you put a lot of expectations onto it and you want it to go really well and you want certain things to happen. But I guess the liberating thought is that you have the rest of your life to continue to have sex. Like,
this wasn't the only chance.
Yeah, and once you do get a bit of sexual experience, like, we both had terrible first times.
Yeah, not together, obviously.
No, but like individually. And sure, you only have one opportunity to like lose your virginity, but once you've started having sex, it's like, I don't care.
Who gives a fuck what your virginity was
continue to go and have more sex.
That's like, imagine you're first learning to play basketball, and the first time you ever shoot, like, you know, you line up, you're ready to go, and you're like, I can't fuck this up. And it's like, bro, you're most likely going to fuck that up. You've never shot ever before. You've literally never thrown a basketball in your entire life. You shoot, it goes like 17 meters away. You actually shoot in the completely wrong direction. You fuck it up entirely. You drop the ball on the ground. That's how badly you fuck it up. And then you trip over and you fall on the ground. And then you're like, oh my God, like, I fucked it up for life. I can never be a basketballer. Oh my God, I ruined my first time. And it's like, bro, what are you talking about? Your first time? Who gives a shit? Or the first time you try and tie your shoelaces, you fucked that up.
Yeah, unlike anything else, virginity seems to be that, like, or sex seems to be that thing where people glorify the first, like, the first time, and that seems to be...
when it's almost guaranteed to be terrible.
Monumental, yeah.
Not terrible, but, like, it's unsmooth. Yeah. You're not going to be confident. It won't be terrible. It doesn't have to be terrible.
No.
And that killed my mood. It didn't kill your mood, you killed your mood. But fair enough, like, you know, we're going hard on this guy. Even though things happened the way they did, I am glad I chose to lose my virginity to an escort now rather than just sit for who knows how much longer, regretting not getting laid. It was an experience I needed, and it went great except for not being able to finish. But the experience was 100% worth it because now I know what sex is really like, and it feels like I have more control over my life for being able to make this kind of decisions. Also, losing my virginity made me feel like a huge weight has been lifted. This is what I'm talking about. Yeah. If you feel like you're just crushed by the burden of like the label of virginity, yeah. For a lot of guys, they lose their virginity, and yes, it doesn't solve all their problems, but they go like, oh my God, like I don't have that pressure. And you were putting that pressure on yourself, let's be clear. But yeah. So I don't have the pressure to lose my virginity anymore. No regrets, but I wouldn't do it again. Yeah. So that's a lot of guys as well. They lose it to an escort. They're like, okay, I'm ready now. Let's go outside and talk to ladies. So yeah, that sounds pretty good. Yeah, this guy, top post is perfect. If you're nervous and stressed out, which is normal during your first time, it can be hard to finish. You have to be relaxed. That will come with time. Maybe in your second or third session you will come. Don't worry about it. You did nothing wrong. Yeah, great, good. I couldn't come the first time I had sex. Yeah, that's like really fucking common.
Yeah, same thing with this guy as well.
I didn't come. Yeah, that's like ridiculously common.
Yeah.
This is very common. We read the same story here. It's common for guys to not... So do you guys see why I was going so hard on this guy and saying you're so fucking boring? Because it's like everyone here is like, yeah, dude, like, she's not disappointed in you, faggot. You're just like... This poor chick's like, she goes to give him a... Not poor chick, but it's like she goes to give him a good time. You know, she has fun. She's like, oh, that's pretty good. He was a nice client. And he's just like, oh my God, like, I'm a fucking loser. I'm a beta male. She hates me. Like, and she's just like... She's like, la-di-da, la-di-da, I'm having a nice day today. And he's just like, oh my God, I've let her down. I'm sorry, mistress, I have let you down. Okay, next one. 24 male lost virginity to escort. I am socially engaging person, but not with girls. Why in capitals? Bro, calm down. Clear. Having consumed TV shows, movies, content which depict that sex is easy to get in a bar or club. Yeah, fuck that shit. That is, yeah, that's like absolutely the message that's given. Getting laid with a co-worker, etc. is near to ideal situation. Some people get it, yes, but those are just top 1%. Rest just monger in desperation. I think English maybe isn't this guy's first language. Maybe I'll just skim read this and I'll read out the bits. I guess this bit here is interesting. So as first timers say, and as I witness myself, getting hard and finishing is difficult compared to like porn or hentai or comics. Reality hits you in the face when you see emotion and connect matters a lot during sex. Yeah, so I guess he's talking about intimacy with a woman is a lot different.
Yeah, it's not just like, she's hot, now I'm ready to like there's a lot of mental stuff that actually goes into being attracted
you're with
and
another
getting horny.
Person. But not even just that. It's more like the intimacy of another human being when they respond to you. Porn doesn't respond to you. You know, jerking off doesn't respond. The women in porn do exactly what you want them to do because they're trained in porn. But in real life, women do different stuff. And that's a nice surprise if you haven't had sex. Like, so for instance, maybe you're fingering a girl and she's like, that's a little bit rough. Would you mind going gentler? And you're like, you want something different to like you have your own preferences. You're a human. So I think that can be surprising if you're someone that's a virgin and you've only ever watched porn. It's probably something you don't expect is that like, oh, this is a human being. It sounds like it makes sense, but yeah, there's sort of like sex is like a dance. It's like a two-way street, or if you're having a threesome, it's a three-way street. It's like it's a language. It's a communication. And it doesn't have to be all verbal, but it is definitely a dance, and you're not used to that if you've just looked at porn. Porn is just like you're a zombie. So I think that's another reason why I like, or why sex is nicer than porn. In porn, you fall down this like funnel, and you become very like tunnel visioned on the porn. Sex is a lot more present because you're with another person. You can't be in your own head as much, or you're probably not going to be in your own head as much. Yeah. This guy says, so if you're worried about your virginity or pressuring yourself to get a girlfriend for sex, then go and hire an escort. It will be a good decision. Yeah. Will I make it a habit? Absolutely no. Yeah, see? Cool. Older virgin seriously considering seeing an escort. Thoughts? Long story short, I haven't had a lot of luck romantically. I'm 32. Yeah, so that's actually a lot more common than... It's not like super common, but it's common enough. Like at this point, how many 30-something-year-old virgins have I worked with? Quite a few. And definitely a lot in their late 20s.
Plenty.
Yeah. While I don't think finding an escort will solve all my problems, these people are like reading my brain. That's exactly what I said before. It's not necessarily going to solve all your problems. I do think it would be a fun experience to see what sex is like. Yep. I recently got a job with enough disposable income that I don't feel guilty about paying for it. Really what I want most is just someone to be understanding and affirming in the experience, which, yes, an escort absolutely is. And it takes a lot of pressure off, for sure.
Yeah.
Because you can kind of just put all the pressure on her. Not that it's pressure, but you're basically saying to her, hey, I'm a virgin. Can you make sure this goes well? And she's like, sure, I'm a professional. It's literally my job.
Yeah.
You're literally paying me to make sure I will give you a good time, that you'll have fun. Whereas a girl that maybe you meet from Tinder or a bar or somewhere else, you still have a great time with her. It's just usually expected that you would do a little bit more, I guess I would say, because you're not paying her to be a professional. So I was thinking about taking a Vegas vacation, going to one of the brothels nearby, blah, 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 blah. Any guys in a similar boat who've done the same? How do you find an escort who's understanding? I'm also black. I've heard that's a barrier for a lot of escorts. Is there any truth to that?
What escorts are saying, I'm not going to sleep with
Sorry, I don't deal with
black
N-words. Look at me turning a corner. I say the N-word now instead of... Yeah, no.
Maybe
what
like
I don't deal with fucking...
Like it's too big? And so I don't...
Yeah.
That's like my only thought of
she's
as to like...
You'll damage me. Yeah.
That's
a stereotype.
curious.
I've
never...
That black guys have big
like
dicks.
a normal... Like that would be my only thought, which is interesting. I've never heard that like escorts would have...
Yeah, this guy here says like...
issue.
You know, I'm black. I see plenty of chicks that don't care. I find disgraceful. It's awful that even black escorts are advertising that they only cater to white men, which I find disgraceful. It's like, yeah, heaven forbid a business chooses who they deal with. They can work with whoever the fuck they want. Anyways, side topic. Alright. 18 male just lost virginity to escort, feeling like a champ. Escort is linked, so I'm not going to click that, obviously. $200. Yeah, so that's what I mean. They're not all that
really
expensive.
Cheap.
30-minute meet, but ended up being an hour for the same price. English was not great. She had an ass and a boob job. Using a condom does not feel good. Yeah, so I saw this. I've seen this a few times. There's tricks you can use to make a condom feel better. I've got guides on my website. Go and search for my performance anxiety erectile dysfunction guide, and I talk about the condom trick that I recommend. So what the condom trick is you get some lube and use water-based lube. Do not use silicone lube because it can fuck with the condom. Use water-based lube and put a tiny, 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 tiny little drop in the condom, like, or on your dick. And that makes it just a little bit like slippery on the inside. Don't use too much or the condom will fall off. Tiny, tiny, tiny bit. Just a dab, basically. Like a dab. Wait, how do you dab? Dab. Fucking, I can't dab on camera. I got fucking cords and shit here, you bastards. I can't dab properly, but... A dab.
Yeah.
Put a dab in the condom and it makes it feel better. That's the condom trick. There you go. I think it was too small as I could barely get it off. Yeah, and if you use too small a condom, that's what I did when I lost my virginity. I've told that story before. It's in that article, erectile dysfunction article. Go and read that awful story of my fucking awful first time. This woman put the work in. I found it very strange. She had a husband. She was professional. Would do again if I had more time and was actually fully hard. I recommend Viagra, Blue Chew. I don't know what that is. Probably just Viagra. If it's your first time. It was difficult to get hard and stay hard. Yep. That's just because you're nervous, obviously. You can use Viagra if you want to, or Cialis. I recommend Cialis. I don't recommend Viagra for a multitude of reasons. Cialis works for longer. Viagra, you have to use it within like an hour or two. Cialis can last like up to 6 or so hours. But you don't have to use dick pills. Like, I would recommend you not use them. Use them if you want to, but like for your first time, I just recommend you say like, I'm going to be nervous, whatever. She had a great personality. She could tell I was nervous. Wish I could have performed better, as if that's going to happen your first time. It's funny the pressure guys put on themselves. Hey, I have never done something before. Let me do a good job. It's like, get fucked, you arrogant cunt. Like, and when I say that, I'm speaking as much to myself as anyone else, because I was the same when I was a virgin. The guys are so why are we so arrogant with sex? I don't get it, because it's like, the stereotype is that most guys suck at sex.
That is a stereotype.
And that's the feedback we get from most women that we sleep with. They're like, wow, most of the guys I've slept with have sucked. So the stereotype and the actual evidence seems to be that guys suck at sex. Yeah, in their brain, they're
ego speaks like, but I'm not going to be like those other men.
But averagely, you probably are, especially if you've never done it before. You're just going to suck at sex. Hell, I sucked at sex for so fucking long until I practiced and got decent at it. Why would you ever be good? Yeah, guys have this weird fucking arrogance with sex. It's like, let me be good at this. Now, I understand I'm going to suck at any new sport that I do. I understand if I go to a new job, I'm probably going to be a bit nervous and I'm going to suck at the start. I understand if I go to a party and meet new people, I'm probably going to be awkward. I understand, like, if I fucking try some new hobby, I will suck. But sex, I got to fucking perform. Come on, it's game day.
I think
this is my one chance. I got to not fuck it up.
There's such a, like, strong association with, like, your masculinity and your manhood when it comes to sex.
But why isn't there manhood with, like, I don't know, fishing or hunting or something that's like a masculine thing?
Well, I was actually going to say that, like, to be fair, I have, like, a problem with when I try new things. I think I have the expectation that I want to be good at it immediately. And then I get very, like, emotional or grumpy. When
Guys, hey, no. One day we should, like, stream.
No.
We should stream. No, I'll figure out how to do it. I know how to do it. We can stream Imogen playing video games. And you guys can watch her literally cry. Like, you can watch her literally cry and slowly, like, lose her fucking patience and lose her will to live because she can't make some fucking jump in, like, Half-Life. Watching you play through Half-Life.
I got really upset.
You, like, literally fucking started crying at certain points.
But I'll get, like, angry because, like any new thing, like, I did a surfing lesson the other week and I worked really hard on, like, not getting angry or upset because I wasn't very good because I'd never been surfing before. Same with, like, snowboarding. Anyway, the point is, I understand the ego part that wants to be good at something immediately.
So you heard it here first, guys. Andrew Tate is wrong. Women can empathize with men. See, I told you I'd find a way to bring Andrew Tate up, like, and make it relevant so that we wouldn't be too controversial, but we'd get to, like, capitalize on, current.
I don't think this is capitalizing. Imagine if you gave it some, like, clickbait titles, like, my thoughts on Andrew Tate.
My thoughts on the Andrew Tate controversy. Yeah, and it's just like that one sentence in this one fucking thing. You guys have to watch the whole video to find that.
At the very end, like an hour in now.
So back to this. I hope I don't have any STDs now. That. Yeah, you probably. I'm sorry. I laugh, but this is a genuine question. So let me show you guys this, because people do ask about STDs all the time with escorts especially. Go to Mark Manson's website, markmanson.net, and then search for STD guide. Any of you who worry about STDs, read this fucking guide. This is the probably definitive guide that you ever want to read on STDs. On top of this, I would also recommend you go to a sexual health clinic. If you don't have a sexual health clinic near you, go to any GP or, just go to a general practitioner, go to a GP and talk to them about STDs, and they will tell you everything that's in here. In fact, pretty much every time I go to get STD checked, which we do a couple of times a year, I have to fucking argue with them about getting tested. The number of times I've been told, like, no, you don't need to get tested unless you have symptoms. And I'm like, I want to get tested for peace of mind, please, because I sleep with a lot of people. And they go like, yeah, but you don't have any symptoms. You don't need to. In fact, we tell everybody not to come and get tested unless they have symptoms because you stress yourself out from getting tested. And if you have symptoms, if you don't have symptoms, you're not going to transfer anything. You can't, so the point that I'm getting to is people overblow STDs. I've done several podcasts on STDs, and this is me talking about it again. This article is great at telling you your actual chances of catching an STD if you have sex with people. And what you're going to find is, first of all, like, basically every STD you're not really going to catch. Even if you do, they're quickly fixed by, like, a fucking pill and you're immediately good. The only STDs that are really worth worrying about is, like, syphilis, which is, like, easily fixed anyway if you get tested, and HIV, which you're probably not going to get if you're having male, female, heterosexual sex and you're not showing needles and you're not having anal sex with other homosexual men. That's going to be controversial, but yeah, go on. If you actually do the research on all this shit, you're going to be fine 99.99999999999% of the time. So STDs are massively overblown. Again, do your own research. This is not me telling you to go out and have unprotected sex, wear condoms, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, to be having, he used a condom and he's saying, I hope I don't have STDs now. You had sex once with a condom, you don't have STDs. I, 20 male, recently lost my virginity to an escort. Hello. Why is that so amusing to me? Hello. I recently got tired of being the only person in my close-knit friend group who was a virgin, so I decided to go visit an escort, and it was a pretty decent experience. I don't regret it or anything, but in the moment I got kind of carried away, and it ended up going down on her pussy and ass, and I'm just wondering if I should be worried about STDs. I swear to God, I did not mean to put this one second. Like, I haven't read any of these. That's hilarious that we just talked about STDs, and the very next one is about that. Should I get tested right away or wait and see if I exhibit any symptoms? So the STD clinics, or at least all the ones that I've been to, would tell you, like, not to go and get tested until you have symptoms because you're just stressing yourself out. However, if it makes you feel better, there's no harm in getting tested.
Yeah, of course not.
You can go get tested.
Yeah.
In a lot of places it's free, and if it's not very expensive. It's like the cost of 2 or 3 GP visits. So it's a couple $100. It's not that expensive at all. Just remember that some STDs don't show up on those tests. I think herpes is one of them. I think HPV is one of them. Like, there's a couple of STDs that don't show up for several months. So you almost have to wait several months after you had sex before they would show up positive on a test. But yeah, go and get tested if it makes you feel better, for sure. Yeah. As people said, like, if she didn't have any symptoms, you're fine, dude. Like, you're fine. If she literally had, like, actual symptoms, as in, like, pus discharge or sores, like herpes sores and stuff like that, sure, that's it. But even then, the Mark Manson article talks about your chances of actually catching an STD, even if you have sex with someone who shows symptoms, is not 100%. I'm not telling you to go and have unprotected sex with people who literally have STD symptoms. That would be fucking dumb. But you don't just immediately catch it because you had sex with someone with literal symptoms. So you're fine. Still go and get tested because it will make you feel better. And on the off chance you did miraculously have something, you can cure it immediately. So yeah, people fucking freak out over STDs. And it's like, bro, you get like colds and flus and all sorts of illnesses all the time. You don't fucking... I was going to say, and you don't panic about them, but 2020 and 2021 and 2022,
mild colds now,
a bunch of you were fucking pussies and freaked out about nothing. So I take that back.
Getting to throw in all the controversies.
Yeah, I'm trying to go for as many controversies as possible in this one. We want to get cancelled. I want to get cancelled ASAP.
No, you don't.
I wouldn't really care if I got cancelled, to be honest, at this point. Like, we'd just go on a different platform. I'd use, like, Rumble or...
Rumble?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different, like, YouTube alternatives. I wouldn't care if we got cancelled. If we get I've had this discussion with you a million times. When we first started, or I started this channel, I almost expected that at some point... At least I went into it with the mindset of, like, I'm going to be me, and me means that I say things that are not politically correct.
Yep.
And I don't really care, and I'm not going to censor myself. I will be intelligent with what I say, and I'm not going to deliberately say stuff. But I sort of went into it with the expectation of, like, one day I'll probably get cancelled. That's fine. Like, I still have my website. I'll have my other shit. Even if they cancelled my website and all this, like, we'd figure out ways to keep the community alive. So, yeah, I don't really mind that much. I don't want it to happen, sure, but I won't cry if it does. All right, so we'll do a couple more of these, and then we might start finishing up because it's been an hour so far. That's a very long one. I want to do a short one. I want to do a super easy short one. Yeah, that'll do. As a newbie who lost his virginity a few days ago, what positions do you recommend I try for the most pleasure during sex? I've already tried doggy, 69, missionary, and cowgirl. This sort of ties into a greater point, which is, I don't know if this guy means with escorts or in general with sex, but sex really is an exploration and it's an experimentation. And so, like, I love that this guy's curious and he's literally saying, like, what should I try next? Give yourself permission to try basically everything in sex, which this guy has that great mindset. And rather than seeing sex as a performance, like, how do I perform and how do I do a good job, which a lot of these other questions, you know, you've seen, this guy, you know, I know he's only written 2 fucking sentences, but they seem to me pretty open-minded and curious. This is a pretty decent mindset for sex and getting good at sex. It's like, hey, like, what should I try? Like, I've already tried these. They were fun. Like, what else should I try? That's a really good way to go into sex, rather than like, how do I make sure I do a good job? And how come my dick wasn't hard? And how come I couldn't come? Like, don't worry about the performance as much as like actually having fun. Yeah, okay, we'll read this one out and maybe we'll finish. Like, I don't know if any of the rest of these are, you know, decent. Yeah, maybe we'll read this one then. Those who lost their virginity to escorts, did you feel some sort of regret or conflicting afterwards? So this might be a decent topic to dive into, because there might be some guys that are sort of worried about that.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt to have people play devil's advocate. Just
yeah, I was kind of hoping we'd get some that would say like, oh, don't see an escort. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they've all seemed pretty positive so far. I didn't then, I guess he means at the time, but I do now. Since I lost my virginity to escorts, I've always just continued going to escorts. This is what I said before. You want to sort of be careful that you don't do that. I've never had a girlfriend, never experienced romance or fallen in love, and I'm an old man now. I feel like I've lost out. Perhaps if escorts weren't an option, I would have tried harder to ask a girl out on a date, get a girlfriend, fall in love. Like, maybe, but I also think probably not. I think it's a very convenient scapegoat to say like, oh, but I had escorts. And it's like, mate, you also could have gone and, you know, gone on Tinder, gone outside, gone to meetups, gone to bars, gone to social circles. There's like a million ways to meet women. So, yeah, I think it's more a scapegoat, but I don't know this guy's situation, so how do I know? Here's some advice from an old man. If you're young, try harder to get a girlfriend. It may not work out for you, and if so, that's fine. Escorts will always be there. However, try it at least once. Yeah, so it sounds like he didn't really try at all. Like, he's kind of even saying that. So that's kind of like, it's good that he's said this. Like, keep that in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, the similar thing. And I think like the first few things that we read, like, it was good that I think they mentioned like not relying on it and not like using this as like maybe as a way to lose a virginity. And then
do it as like part of a bigger solution. Do it as a small part of like a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Like part of your entire mission, which is to like build yourself up, self-improvement, get to a point where you are abundant with women, or you have a girlfriend, whatever you want. And, you know, then you have financial freedom, you have plenty of friends, you build your body up, like all of that. And that's obviously a long-term project. I'm still working on that myself, so are you. But see an escort, if you do see an escort, see that as part of like the whole, rather than like, oh, this will solve my problems. No, this is like step 1. Step 2 is then figure out how to go and replicate that with like women outside or women on Tinder or whatever. So
okay, I'm curious just because I was skim reading, what's GFE? Do you know?
GFE means girlfriend experience. So when the girl, basically when the girl's nice to you, rather than just like really cold and clinical.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, it sounds like most of these aren't actually. I'm trying to find one that's like very regretful. Oh, okay. So this guy sounds like he'd gone to escorts for blowjobs, and then some girl just like fucked him, and like, but he wasn't ready for sex. And I felt a little violated. Yeah, that's never going to get talked about. Like, most people are like, ha 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 ha. It's like, it's this, violated is the right word. If the genders were flipped, we would be using the R word. And I don't think this escort did anything wrong. It's just miscommunication. But like, yeah, I think that's with men, that's not really going to get talked about as much. Like, if a guy has sex that he didn't want to have, they're just like, haha, like, you got laid, bro. And it's like, this guy probably felt a bit violated. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that being a bit of a bummer for this guy. And obviously that's just expectations. He wanted to wait for someone special, and he feels a bit like violated and stuff like that. But yeah, again, I think if we flip the genders, you'd be feeling pretty bad for the chick, or you'd be like, oh, damn, like, poor chick. So yeah, so it sounds like it was ultimately good for him, though. He had a really fun girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see that being the sort of thing, though.
That's a good mindset, what he says at the end. Yep.
I guess with like the whole regret thing, kind of touching on what we said before, like, sure, even if it's not the first time that you wanted, you have the rest of your life to have different sexual experiences.
Yeah, you can go and make the second time or the third time or the fourth time really good.
Yeah, so even if you do lose your virginity to an escort, it's like, yeah, but you have the rest of your life to have sex with women that aren't escorts, if that's like really important to you. And I could see why that's like an important part of masculinity, to know that women can be attracted to you just for being you.
Yes. Yeah, this next one says, no regrets for me. Next guy says, I don't worry about it. Nothing I can do. I'm glad I got it out of the way. 10 out of 10. The only regret is that I could have done it sooner. No, it just started an addiction, honestly. So, yeah, so that's what we're sort of, you know, saying be careful of. Regret. I don't regret it. Yeah, here you go. I was disappointed that sex was not this huge big thing that I made it out to be in my mind. I'm guessing with someone you love and they love you, it must be amazing. Otherwise, it's just emotion. So even with that, I'd be cautious of saying, you know, maybe when I love someone, it will be amazing. You're glamorizing it, and you're giving yourself these expectations and this fairy tale notion, almost like you're giving yourself like one-itis. Most of you will know what that term means. You're giving yourself like one-itis with sex and with like the one you love. Maybe I'll meet the one you love and it will be amazing. Like when you and I have sex, it's pretty fucking amazing, but it's not like the heavens and the stars don't align and everything is beautiful and wonderful. Like you can make it like that,
of course,
but that's the point. You have to make it. It's not a passive thing, and this guy is talking as if it is a passive thing. If you want amazing sex, make it amazing. The way that you make it amazing is just practice. I have plenty of guides on my website, plenty of guides on this YouTube channel. I have BDSM guides. I have a threesome guide on my website you can go and check out. Even in my Tinder guide, my free Tinder guide, I talk about a million different ways to make sex amazing. I've got a sexual bucket list article. So just go to my website and search for sexual bucket list. I have so many articles on how to make sex good.
Yeah.
We even did a video recently where we did like a walkthrough of my BDSM cupboard.
Yeah.
And we talked about some of the sex toys and things we own. So you can make sex amazing, but don't just sit there and think it's going to just magically be amazing. Like, no, you got to make it good. And it probably won't be mind-blowingly amazing if you're a virgin, like, because you haven't, it's not that it won't be amazing. Like most of my virgin clients like say like, oh my God, that was fucking amazing. But like, I guess the point that I'm making is like, if you want it to be great, you have to make it great. And that just comes with practice. So. Yeah. This guy said he did regret it a bit. I felt conflicted. I spent a long time regretting it, a long time. Well, that's just self-torture, 3 years. So that's entirely up to you. Remember, guys, you don't have to regret anything. You're choosing to regret. And I know for a lot of us, we don't mean to do that. But when you have regrets, you're literally choosing to have regrets. You're choosing to dwell. You're choosing not to move forward. You're choosing not to take it as a learning experience. You are choosing to beat yourself up. You're choosing to suffer. And that's not me being hard on the guy, but like you got to take some responsibility. Regret doesn't just happen to you. You choose to stay in regret. You can choose to pull yourself up and move past it and take some action and move forward and become a more knowledgeable person who learns from their mistakes. But if you sit there for 3 years regretting something, that doesn't just happen to you. That's a lot of time you chose not to move forward.
Yeah, because even if you've done things in the past that you don't feel like you
move forward. I've done so many things that I wouldn't go back and do again, but like I don't sit there for 3 years regretting them.
Yeah, similarly, like
you move forward and fix it. You fix it.
Yeah, if we're talking about like I would not have lost my virginity the way that I did.
Yours was awful. Yeah,
it was
so was
really
mine.
Bad, but like I don't really think about it ever until we start
3
talking
years later,
about
you're
it.
still regretting
I don't really care at all, and it's like, yeah, it would have been better, but like why would I bother dwelling on it? It's not a big deal at the end of the day. Yeah. It's something in the past that doesn't need to affect me in the slightest, which it doesn't.
Yep. Next, I regret assault escorts, blah, blah, blah. I contracted HPV from an escort. Hopefully it goes away, but I wish I waited a bit longer. Okay, so we talked about STDs. You're going to talk about HPV. You're going to bitch about HPV. Come on, brother. Like, you've been lied to, man. I hate when people talk about HPV. So go and read this Mark Manson article. Go to markmanson.net/STD-guide. Read his STD guide. He talks about HPV. HPV, the STD, the sexual health clinics I go to, will not test me for HPV when I ask them to. They say, no, we do not test anyone for HPV. We will test some women for it because it can lead to sexual, it probably says it in this article, to cervical cancer in women if left untreated for years or decades. and she hasn't been vaccinated against it. Like, so yes, for some women, they will test you for it. But for men, no. Why would they? There's no symptoms 99.9% of the time. It's essentially like a fucking flu. Like, God, what other viruses are there that do nothing? It's like saying, oh, there's bacteria in my stomach. It's like, yes, they live there. HPV is basically, I want to see if he has it in this article. Does he talk about how many people have HPV? Basically, everyone has HPV is the whole point. So 42 million people in the US have HPV. So remember that the US has like 200 million people, I think, roughly, or 250, something like that, whatever. So run the maths on that. So like 1 in 7 people have HPV. Yeah, it does nothing. That's my point. And so this is where you can see the STD hysteria can do more harm than good, as in people do freak out over it and they go like, oh my God, like, fuck, like, what if I get HPV? Oh my God, I got an STD. And it's like, bro, you have HPV. Calm the fuck down. Like, we all have HPV. I have HPV. Like, you have HPV. Everyone has HPV. If you're sexually active, you basically have HPV. You get it from like oral sex, anal sex, like, yeah, see, look, most sexually active men and women will get it at some point in their lives. For the most point, it can like cure itself. It only really gives cancer if you're a woman, like, what's the fucking C word? I just saw cervical cancer. Condoms don't completely protect against it. Yeah, like, it's completely fucking fine. Look, there's 200 strains of HPV, 40 of them sexually transmitted. Nearly all sexually active people get infected at some point in their life. Half the time it goes away. Like, most of them don't show symptoms. HPV is like a fucking joke. It's like freaking out that you had the flu one time. It's like, it doesn't mean anything. So I understand that this guy is like being lied to or being propagandized to, or like, you know, freaked out about like, oh my God, you got HPV, you're gross now, you have like a disease. And it's like, bro, you have HPV. It shouldn't even be called a sexually transmitted disease. I understand why it's called that, because it is transmitted through sex. But yeah, the fact that it's mentioned at all is a fucking crime. So yeah, don't stress about that. Maybe we'll read one more. Mixed feelings. Yeah, let's do this one. I'll just quickly skim. So this guy, male 22, lost his virginity to a prostitute, has mixed feelings. Let's see if we can skim to where the mixed feelings are.
The act itself was rather unspectacular.
About 5 minutes of shallow and uncoordinated humps. I went over the edge and finished. Then I wanted to have my first kiss, which I got, but it was pretty awkward to ask for a kiss after fucking her. Why is it awkward? Is it awkward, or did you just tell yourself the story of how it's awkward? Why does it have to be awkward? You've told yourself it's awkward, so then it is awkward, but it doesn't have to be. It's funny how people just use the word awkward and they're like, oh my God, it's awkward. And it's like, bro, you just made a fucking word up. Why is it awkward?
Yeah,
it could be like, cool as shit. It could be fun. It could be hilarious. It could be silly. It could be anything you want to call it.
I think it's more accurate to say I felt uncomfortable and therefore
I felt nervous. I didn't know how to say it. Yeah.
I've labelled the situation as awkward, whereas she may not have perceived it that way at all.
It takes two people to feel something is awkward. And a lot of the time you project and you say, that's awkward. And the other person's like, no, it's not. It's normal. You're nervous. Like, how's it awkward? How many girls have we slept with, really inexperienced girls especially, where they say like, oh man, like, you know, I'm clumsy or I'm awkward or whatever. And we're like, no, you're not. This is fine. What are you talking about? This is perfectly normal. Because in their head, they're like, I'm so nervous. This is so awkward.
Yeah, and they're overthinking 100 different things. And
they think they're doing a bad job, and they think it's awkward, and they think we think that they're awkward. And we just say to them like, what are you talking about? This is fun. Like, how's this awkward? And then they're like, oh, I thought it was. And it's like, no, you just invented that it's awkward. The other person doesn't necessarily think that. You just fucking projected. So, yeah, it doesn't have to be awkward. Then I quickly left. You didn't have to. You chose to. So do you see how it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy? And I'm not blaming this guy. This guy's a fucking virgin. He's inexperienced. He doesn't know any better. Like, he's nervous. Fair enough. I probably would have done exactly what he did, right? I wouldn't have been any better. But the point that I'm making is like, this wasn't just like an awkward situation that he found himself in. It was that he felt awkward, and then he didn't know how to respond to that, and fair enough, he's inexperienced. And then he's assumed, oh shit, that was awkward. And it's like, no, you just think it was. She might not have thought it was awkward. And you chose to leave instead of chilling. So even this here, the lack of intensity and intimacy that you really cannot expect from a prostitute. So that's a limiting belief as well. We've just read out a bunch of stories here of guys who did feel intensity and did feel intimacy and felt like it was great. So yeah, don't self-fulfilling prophecy that. Yes, some escorts or prostitutes that you sleep with, it won't be intimate, sure. Some it will. Do your research.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
And then I could say that, like, from at least in my personal experience, like, my first time, it was not intimate or particularly satisfying either. And I think you can get that with a prostitute or an escort, and you could also get that with just anybody that you've met if you haven't, I guess, gone about it in a way that you're actually seeking out that experience of intimacy and human connection and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Let's answer some of this guy's questions and then maybe we'll finish up. So whatever with that one. While warm and soft, vaginas aren't nearly as tight as I expected. Is it due to my size? 14 centimeters below 6 inches. So that's like perfectly average. He's like a little bit above average. He's like basically average. Or is that a universal experience? It depends on what your expectations are. Some girls are very tight. Asian girls tend to be really fucking tight. The less experienced a girl is, she's obviously tighter, but that's not 100% universal, but just as a general rule. And when I say less experienced, I'm really just talking about if she's a virgin, she'll be very tight. If she's had sex more than like one person, like more than like 4 times, then she's not as tight. Yeah, so it'll just be that he had expectations. So plenty of girls are ridiculously tight. Like we've slept with lots of girls that we literally have to start with my finger first because it's like, oh shit, my dick won't even go in you. Yeah. Even girls who are experienced. Some girls are just ridiculously tight. It's just what they are. And some girls aren't as tight. Obviously, if this woman has been a prostitute for a long time, maybe she would be less tight. Like that's a thing. She can counteract that by doing Kegel exercises. There's exercises she could be doing to make that tighter. So yeah, it'll be a combination of factors. While expected and understandable, the lack of even some basic intimacy was pretty frustrating. I mean, we didn't talk at all, basically. Okay, bang. So I understand that he's a virgin. I understand that he's paid a professional. That doesn't mean that she's necessarily going to give you what you want.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how many times do we go somewhere where the person is an expert, or like how many times, especially in retail, does the person just seem utterly incompetent and you go like, oh my god, this is literally your job, how are you this incompetent? And it's like, well, because like, why you can't expect everyone to be competent. Just because they have a job doesn't mean they're good at it. And so the point that I'm making here is, if this guy, or if you guys want some intimacy and you want some talking, you go first. Why does she have to go first? And you can say, well, because I'm paying her. And it's like, okay, well, the reality is right now she's not being intimate with you and she's not talking. Do you want to sit there and get frustrated, or do you want to solve the problem? If you want to solve the problem, you go first. You say, hey, I feel like we're not talking much. Do you mind if we talk a little bit? And then she'll go, oh, okay, I didn't know you want that. Sure. And if she can't give you what you want, okay, then don't go to her ever again. Or you can end it and go somewhere else. Or you can just say, hey, okay, I'll lower my expectations. This woman's not going to talk. So the point is, there are solutions there. I think this guy has just let himself get frustrated. Like, it was pretty frustrating. No, you let yourself get frustrated. The situation wasn't just frustrating out of nowhere. You're not a victim. He's sort of speaking in the passive voice, if you get what I mean. This was pretty frustrating. No, you contributed to the frustration. You chose to call it frustrating. You chose to let it be frustrating. You chose to have expectations that weren't met, and then you didn't express those expectations. So you can't assume that she will know that you wanted to talk or know that you wanted intimacy. And then if you say, but come on, man, it's like a profession. He's paying a prostitute. She should know that. Yep. And if I go to Starbucks, they should know not to fuck my order up, shouldn't they? If I go to a restaurant, they should know not to fuck my food up and get me the wrong thing. Yet it happens all the time, doesn't it? So do I sit there and go like, oh man, it's really frustrating? Or do I just say like, hey, sorry, this wasn't what I ordered. Can you please fix this? And they'll go, oh shit, sorry. And I go, hey, no stress, like it happens. And then they fix it and I get what I want. So yeah, are you going to solve the problem or get frustrated? Again, I don't want to be too hard on this guy. He's a virgin.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff that comes with trying something a few times and learning.
Yeah, for sure.
Learning what you want. You don't know what you want until...
He wouldn't have known that it was frustrating until he has the frustrating experience and goes, oh shit, that was frustrating. It's like, cool. Bro, it's a learning experience. Great.
Yeah.
My hips seem to be too tight to do missionary properly. I don't think I've ever heard of that. Maybe he's a bigger guy. Maybe he's just not flexible. One thing you can do, guys, is like grab the woman's legs and like lift them up a little bit, like almost over your shoulders. So yeah, just play around with different positions if that happened. It felt awkward and slightly uncomfortable. So yeah, that's where again he needs to use his words. And fair enough, he's a virgin. He's probably got a million things going on in his head. I understand that. But yeah, for next time, he just needs to say like, hey, this doesn't feel good. Let's try a different position. General disillusionment with sex as this magical thing. I went out of there thinking, so that's it? Yeah, that can be pretty common. And I don't think it's even that guys think like, oh, sex wasn't that good. It's more just that like, they're like, why didn't I do this sooner? Like, I could have just had sex at any point. Like, why did I wait this long?
Yeah.
Like, why did I think it was this magical fucking thing that I couldn't have?
Yeah, or even just not that, like, why didn't I do this sooner, but, like, why did I think it was such a big deal that I hadn't had this?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, sex is just sex, man. Like, it's fun. Again, if you want it to be amazing, it doesn't sound like this guy's first time was, like, brilliant, right? Part of that will be he didn't communicate. Part of that will be that she didn't take the lead. So I'm not even saying it's his fault, but I'm saying we care about solutions here, right? And that's why I say, mate, here's what you could have done better. I don't give a shit what she did poorly. Why do I give a fuck what she did poorly? What am I going to somehow change her? Like, why do I care? We care what you could have done better because I want to solve your problems. A solution isn't saying what everyone else could have done better. That's you trying to control the entire fucking universe and control everyone else around you. That's never going to work, is it? It's easier to control yourself and improve yourself. So no real feeling of relief from not being a virgin anymore. Okay, that's a nice counterexample to all the other people that said they were happy they lost their virginity. Doing it with a prostitute feels like cheating when it comes to becoming a real man. Yeah, I've had some guys say that.
Yeah.
There'll be plenty of guys that watch this and go like, cool, great, interesting podcast, Andy, but I don't want to cheat.
Yeah, and I think if you're going into it having that belief that like sleeping, like already feeling that way, like feeling that sleeping with an escort is cheating, then it's probably not going to be for you and not be a super satisfying experience. It's probably not worth going ahead if you go into it believing.
If you believe it's going to be
sleeping
cheating,
with
then
an escort means that I'm not really being a man, then
then why would you do it?
You're not going to have a good time.
Yeah, it's like if you go, you're standing there on the starting line to run a marathon race and you're like, marathons are stupid and everyone who does them is dumb. It's like, why would you do the marathon then? So yeah, if you don't believe in seeing an escort, then don't. I felt like jerking off to porn is better straight afterwards.
So it sounds like he went home and I think it sounds like he went home and jerked off to porn and that felt better. Like, and like immediately after he had that experience, it's like, oh, this is better.
But then I did that at home and I'm sure, so wait a little bit longer. It sounds like he just lost his virginity today. Like, porn won't be, I don't think porn would be better after you've seen an escort. I mean, I guess that you've seen, like you've had sex, so you have some of those memories. But yeah.
Okay, no, I think what he's saying is that straight after that experience, he had the thought porn would have been better. And then he went home and jerked off. He's just worded
this like a fucking retard. Yeah, you're
and then he's like, unsure about porn.
So ignore that. So he's just made a point that shouldn't even be there because he's questioned his own thoughts. I don't know why he's put that there. I guess just to show his like where his headspace is at. No feeling of regret or shame, but no great boost of confidence either. Well, what now? Should I go again in the future? Is there extra confidence to be gained from doing it more often, or should I focus on regular girls now? Also, any advice on how to stay and get really hard while also controlling my orgasm? Yeah, don't do that, for fuck's sakes. Like, stop putting pressure on yourself. Don't stay really hard. Don't control your orgasm. Jesus Christ, just have a good time.
Yeah, enjoy yourself.
Yeah, don't focus on performance. You will get better with practice. Think about it. Do you think it's easy to stay hard when you're like, okay, how do I stay hard? Like, how do I force myself to stay hard? It's like, just don't fucking stress about that. Leave your dick out of it. Use your hands. If you want advice on how to stay hard, I've written articles on how to be hard and performance anxiety and stuff like that. So I've got a massive guide on my website. So go and read that. But the very first thing I say at the top of that article is like, stop putting pressure on yourself. Just literally don't use your dick. Don't care about your dick. Don't worry if you're soft. That's the best advice I can give you. As for whether or not he should focus on regular girls, I would say for him for sure. Yeah, I'd say yeah. I'd say for you, man, like, I would say for this guy, embrace self-improvement and realize that sleeping with a girl isn't necessarily going to solve all your problems and make you feel satisfied and, oh my God, I'm a real man now. You know, he's got this idea up here of like, how do I become a real man? A woman can't give that to you.
Yeah, and if you're going in, like, even if it's not seeing an escort and it's like a girl that you've just met, if you go in with those same expectations, you may just be disappointed.
He's going to be disappointed again because he's got these ideas in his head of like fucking a woman or having some sort of sexual conquest will make me become a real man. And it's like, it's part of the puzzle, sure. Like sexual abundance definitely makes you feel more masculine for sure. It shows you the abundance that's out there in the world. It makes you feel more connected to women. It makes you feel more grateful to women. It gives you more options if you want a girlfriend or a wife and kids. Like, it's definitely something I recommend, but it's not going to solve all your problems. And it's only part of the puzzle. You also want to build a good social circle. You want to figure out what you want from life. You want to work on your stoicism and your mental health and your inner peace. You want to feel more connected to the world around you. You want to figure out some self-knowledge and some self-love and some self-acceptance. Like, what kind of person am I? What are my traits? What do I like? Like, you want to look in the mirror every day and get to know yourself. You want to learn to like yourself and not have negative thoughts. You want to build financial abundance and financial freedom. You want to feel like you're making a contribution in the world. You want to feel like you're part of a community. Like, there's a million different things that make you feel like a real man, so to speak. And getting laid is part of it, yes, but it's not going to give you that feeling by itself. It'll give you a piece of that feeling, but you won't just like have sex with a bunch of women and they'll be like, I'm a real man now, it's all good, I'm perfect. It's like, bro, you got to do all the other stuff too.
Yeah.
So we'll see if there's anything here that's worth. Oh, I like this. Okay, so he's talking about, magical. Yeah, this is what we've said a million times. So he's talking about how he's disillusioned with sex as this magical thing. And this person has replied and said, it can be magical, but you aren't going to be good at it right away. Dancing is a good analogy. Imagine that you just had your first lesson learning to tango. Of course, you're not going to be great at it yet. To make beautiful motion, you need lots of practice and a partner who is also skilled. I don't think, you don't need a partner who's also skilled, but it fucking helps. It really helps. It really, really, really helps, for sure. It's not a requirement, but it definitely helps a lot. Of course, it's a big plus if you've practiced a lot together and you know each other well. That's a great thing to say. Sex, the first time you have sex with a new partner is not normally the best sex you'll ever have with that person. It's almost guaranteed that it won't be the best sex. It'll be like the third or the fourth or the fifth or follow-on times when you have sex. You just get better together.
Of course, yeah.
You understand each other.
Yeah, you know one another's bodies a lot better. You know what, like, because everyone's different. There's not going to be one magical trick that makes one person, like, everyone feel good. There's nuance to everybody's bodies.
For sure. So, yeah. I think we'll finish up there. I think otherwise this will be like a freaking 2 hour. It's already been an hour and a half. The rest of these are basically the same sort of things, I mean, I guess I can quickly answer this one. Like, this guy says, like, if I ever want a wife, should I tell her that I lost my virginity to an escort? How do I say this nicely? Yes, you fucking retard. If you have a wife, be honest with her. Jesus fucking Christ. So that's the answer to that one. I think I answered that pretty well.
Yeah.
Yes, be honest with your fucking wife that you plan on building a partnership with and trust and intimacy for the rest of your goddamn life and raising children together that you would also, I assume, want to be honest people. Yes. Tell your wife fucking everything. Yes, that's a very easy answer. And also, why would she give a fuck? She'd be like, okay, thanks, honey. Was it fun? And you're like, yeah, it was pretty good. And she's like, okay. Like, what's she going to be? Unless you're in some, like, deep, conservative religious place, in which case,
how dare you?
Absolutely tell her, because, like, you don't want that skeleton in your closet. Yeah. It's going to come out at some point, like, it will. And also, do you really want to be with someone for the rest of your life where you have to hide this thing from them and be like, gee whiz, I hope
that's not going to be okay with the life decisions that you've made.
I've told you I've told you everything. Yep. And, like, I've told you stuff that I haven't even said on the podcast that I probably will never say on the podcast.
Yeah.
And, like,
of course.
Mostly because it's like, whatever, there's reasons. But I've told you fucking everything. You've told me some, like, fucked up stuff that
you
like,
make it sound like it's not.
Not stuff you did, but normal, stuff that happened.
Normal, yeah, life stuff. Life stuff has happened.
And, God, I can't even imagine not telling that stuff. It'd just be like, what, I have to spend the rest of my life hoping you don't know that stuff? And yes, it was terrifying to tell you that stuff. It was really fucking scary. And it was for you too. It, like, for a couple of the things, we both had to be on LSD, or LSD helped to open up and, like, share that thing. And yeah, there was a fear of, like, God, what if she doesn't like this? But even as I said it, it was like taking a chance. It was like, I can't move forward with the relationship unless I know that she accepts this part of me, or this thing that I did, or this thing that happened to me, for a couple of the things. And it's like, if she's not okay with this thing that happened to me, I wouldn't want to, like, that's fine, but why would I want to, like, have a partnership with that person? And you were the same thing. It's like, if he doesn't accept these parts of me, or these things that happened to me in childhood or whatever, like, why would I want to be with that person? Like, why would I want to build something? So yeah, I'd ask yourself, if you want a wife that you can't fully trust, you can't trust that if she finds out, because it's a secret that you have to hide and bury, and that eats away at you. So yes, absolutely should you tell her yes. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Why is the most upvoted post, tell no one ever? Literally nothing good can come from telling anyone. Jesus Christ, like, fuck me, okay.
Is that a joke? Maybe.
I don't know, fuck that. How do I downvote on this thing? How do I delete this human being? Anyway, people have different opinions, but yeah, guys, my opinion is, like, fucking tell your wife. Jesus Christ, like. Yeah, I like this. My best friend, I didn't care enough to lie. Yeah. It's like, why would you fucking lie? Like, and again, you don't owe everyone all the information in your head. You don't have to tell your wife, but, like, ask yourself, do I want to build a relationship and a partnership and a marriage and, like, I'm guessing kids with someone that I haven't been fully honest with? Like, because if you're willing to lie about that, what else are you willing to lie about? So yeah, I'm always going to be a proponent of, in a relationship, after you've been together for a couple of years, and fuck, tell her you've been with an escort sooner than that. It's not a big fucking deal. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
How do you avoid getting addicted? Yeah, another great question there. Expectations. I read this before. There was nothing really exciting in there I need to read to you guys. So yeah, maybe this other article, we won't read it, but it's on the website, on this Reddit r/escort clients only. How to find a safe escort. That's pinned at the top. Yeah, I think we'll finish up there. So again, guys, if you want to see an escort, go for it.
Yeah.
Not that you need my permission, but you have my permission. If you don't want to, don't feel like you have to. This was sort of just a podcast with us, like, I guess giving some. It's like we're showing you that it's an option if you want to take it. You don't have to, but it's there.
Yeah, and there's lots of people that have done it and enjoyed themselves, and.
Yeah, and obviously on that subreddit, I think you're going to get mostly people who are happy with it.
Yep.
You're probably not going to get that many people who are like, oh my God, it was awful, because, like.
You probably just want to bury the experience and never address it or talk about it.
So bear in mind that subreddit will be screening for people who had a good time, but the point is that there's plenty of guys who had a good time. You can see that most of their fears are the fears that all of you or a lot of you who are virgins have. Like, I'm worried about staying hard, I'm worried about performing, I'm worried about doing a good job. The answer is always give yourself permission to suck. Just be like, I don't have to be perfect at this. I'm probably not going to be. I'm really nervous. I'm scared. I'll just do an okay job and it will be fun. I have obviously worked with a bunch of clients that are virgins. I really like working with the virgin clients. Like, I feel like dudes who are virgins are the most fun to work with, because, like, when they do have that moment, whether it's with an escort or whether I get them to go outside and talk to girls or whether, through Tinder or through friends or whatever, when they have that moment where they lose it, like, yeah, most of them are genuinely really happy. Like,
yeah, and it's exciting, and then you get to share that success and, like, basically say nice. Good job, and they have, like, a community of guys to share that with.
Yeah, that
are also all going to say, like, good job, like, congrats.
No, I think that's a nice thing. Yeah, is that everyone, like, obviously, in the coaching, it's like a group, like a community. Yeah, it feels nice to share that. So, if you're someone who is a virgin and you're really bummed out by it and you just want to get it off your shoulders or off your back, please hit me up for coaching. Don't sit there and go like, oh my God, like, one day maybe I'll lose it. Like, let me fucking help you. I have group coaching. I have one-on-one coaching. I will leave a link in the description below. Right now, we got a special.
Yeah.
So right now you can get 3 extra weeks if you sign up for free. So I'll leave a link in the description below to that. All you have to do is mention, hey, I want those 3 weeks, you big bitch. If you say I want those 3 weeks, you big bitch,
you get 4 weeks.
I'll give you 4 weeks. Yeah, no, fuck it. If you literally write, I want those. If you write, you big bitch in your coaching inquiry, I will give you 4 weeks instead of 3. I literally mean that. If you write you big bitch in the coaching, I will do that. So, yeah, link below. Go out there and crush your goals.